love.
Hi.
How are you, beautiful lady?
I'm doing well.
Good. Welcome to the Mystic Gardens Healing Collective. Thank you for blessing us with your presence and your wisdom today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. So I'm just going to go ahead and dive right in with the first question that I ask everybody, which is, what practices make you feel holistically well?
Well, as you mentioned, I practice yoga and meditation, and I aim to do those every day. And holistic wellness to me is about finding balance in all areas of my life. So in addition to practicing yoga and meditation daily, I also like to practice clean eating and living in an Ayurvedic lifestyle as much as possible. And of course, spending quality time with my family and balance between work and play.
Oh, yes. Yes, that is so important. I love that. And I love all of those things like yoga, meditation, family, Ayurveda, which is like a science and takes forever to learn. But I did not know that you also incorporate Ayurvedic practices into your life. That's awesome.
I try to as much as possible.
Yeah, so many people aren't aware that Ayurvedic is such an ancient wisdom. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's all about finding balance, really, between body, mind, and spirit. So balance has become a huge thing for me, and just always trying to maintain balance. And yeah.
Yeah, balance is tricky, and it's totally true. When something is out of balance, it compensates itself in another way, and then it's like we're constantly trying to calibrate our different essences of human being.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So I'd love to hear, what led your life path to this point where you are at today? What brought you to the point of seeking healthy living? And what brought you to the point of being an entrepreneur?
Okay. Well, as you know, I love to talk, so I'll try to keep it
We got time,
not a super... Okay, well, yeah, so I was blessed with two parents that were into holistic lifestyles in their own ways. My dad was always into yoga and meditation ever since I can remember. So that was how I got introduced to that. And I actually went to my first Bikram hot yoga class when I was 8. My dad took me to my first class. Yeah. And I know, it's pretty crazy. I don't know how much I was actually doing yoga rather than just sitting there and sweating and but yeah, so, and then I started to become interested in that on my own when I was a teenager, and then started going to regular weekly classes in my early 20s. And then I started my home yoga practice and home meditation practice in the fall of 2018. And yeah, that was when I started practicing daily and really changed my life course. Because as you know, I was going to be a public elementary school teacher. And then when I started doing yoga and meditation every day, I realized that that was not the right setting for me to be teaching in. And then I shifted gears and started studying holistic medicine in other forms and Ayurveda. And then I realized that what I really wanted to do was still teach, but teach yoga and meditation to children and families. And so that's how I got here. And My mom was, when I was young, she was into holistic medicine, and she actually did colon hydrotherapy, among other things, for people. And so she worked at like holistic health centers, and yeah, so
Wow.
I was really, really lucky to have the parents that I have.
Yeah, it sounds like it was kind of deep rooted into your childhood. And then once you discovered that daily yoga practice, I mean, yoga teacher trainings are intense, right? You and I went to the same program, and there's something that happens when you are doing yoga and meditation every single day for almost a month. It's like something changes within your body and your mind. And for me, like when I came back into society after my training, it was like culture shock. It was such a huge contrast, that I knew that it was what I needed to do was yoga. And then you said that comparison of being in a public school classroom was almost like, so how did you make that decision? Like, it's such a hard decision to say no to the course of a career that you've been on for so long, and to take that leap into an entrepreneurial pursuit. Like, what allowed you to do that? Or how would you advise to someone like who's feeling that way? Like, how did you just make that decision?
Well, it was hard, especially because it was a huge letdown in a lot of ways for like my mom and my grandma in particular. My grandma taught high school biology for like 30 years. So teaching is in my blood, you know. And my dad was a teacher also. He taught something totally different. He taught traffic school, and he owned his own business. And so, yeah, I'm a teacher by nature. And so it was just, and I was in a credential program, you know, I was completing that path, and I had been on that path for like 8 or 9 years. And then, so yeah, it was tough, but I just explained to my family that it didn't feel right in my heart, and I really needed to do something with my life that was going to feel good for me, you know, and they understood, you know, that you can't argue with that when you're saying to somebody, this doesn't feel right in my heart. I need to do what feels right in my heart. They're, you know, what can they say? You know? So, and also just trusting in the universe and trusting in the fact that I knew that a better path would be revealed for me. And I didn't necessarily, I mean, I think, you know, we like to put so much time and energy into planning things out and like creating this vision and this way that we can get there. But really, you know, the universe knows what you need to do, and your heart and your inner guidance system also knows that. And so when you align yourself to spirit and to source, and you connect and you trust in the process, then all planning and worrying about what's going to happen really falls away, and you just kind of open your heart up to whatever comes your way.
That's beautiful. I love that. And like having the tools to make space to align with that. And you talked a little bit about letting your heart guide you. That term to so many people, I feel like, is such a strange, unknown, foreign. Well, what does that mean, letting the universe guide us? Or what does that mean, letting my heart guide me? And I think it involves a deep connection with self, but also giving yourself that space. I feel like we live in a culture, in a society where, like you said, everything is planned. You have to know. It's a knowledge-based society, and the more you know, the more you're able to do, and money to be made, and all of these things. And there's something that maybe aren't being taught early on, and that's that deep listening.
Yeah. Totally. Luckily for me, I've kind of, I think, always been in touch with my intuition. But that's kind of what I'm talking about, the leading with your heart and really living from your heart. And also, my dad always said to me, to be happy in life, you need to figure out what makes you the most happy and then how to make money doing that. Because there's that, that saying, if you love your job, you never work a day in your life. It's really true. If you're aligned with what you love to do, then the money just follows.
Yes, that is so key. And like the money can be there if you're not aligned, but then you're just suffering, and then you're just living this life that isn't joyous. That is so, I love that. So, I mean, that kind of moves us into your style of teaching, and we can start with yoga, because like I said, we have this impression that yoga is so physical, which it is partially, but what is your style of yoga teaching? And, all yoga teachers are different. So I always tell people when they're looking for a yoga teacher, that's the most important piece. I want to start doing yoga, I want to practice yoga. Well, the first thing I say is, well, you're going to need to find a yoga teacher that you like, because so many people take a yoga class and they're like, I don't like yoga, because they don't resonate with the teacher. It's the teacher, right? So tell us a little bit about just your style of yoga teaching.
Yeah, that's so true. I just want to say that I definitely agree with you with finding the right teacher. And I was lucky to have found a really amazing teacher at the gym that I was going to when I started going to weekly classes. And that was really important. Her name's Amy Day, and she was teaching at Health Sport here in Arcata in Humboldt, and she ended up stopping teaching there, and I was so bummed. I was like, oh man, like this one teacher that I really fell in love with, she was so inspiring to me. She was leaving, but she was replaced with another woman named Kendra Inzer, and I fell in love with her instantly also. So I just got lucky, I think, that that happened that way. But yeah, when I started practicing yoga weekly at the gym, I really fell in love with power flow vinyasa, and it was challenging, but I liked the challenge, and it was like I needed that to exert that energy, especially because I was working with children after school at the time, and so I really needed to like let off steam from that. And I was still in school, so it was a way for me to like get out my energy, my anxious, stress energy. And also, having a rigorous practice like that it can be about the physical aspect. It definitely is. It made me really strong. But what I enjoyed more was being so in my head, like in my body. It was like the connection of mind, body, and spirit was just, you had to be there, you had to be there in that present moment. To do a really rigorous practice like that, you can't be thinking about anything else, It's like you're forced to just be in the moment right now because you're so focused on what you're doing and connecting your breath with the movement so you can do it, So that was really good for me. But as a teacher, I really am, I think, like, not that vinyasa flow can't be nurturing, but I have a more like relaxed, nurturing, healing teaching style. And so I was really drawn to teaching rest and restore, which is the total opposite of power flow. So I started teaching rest and restore classes before the pandemic broke out, and I just really liked that. It was like I got to be a mom. It feels like a motherly sort of nurturing class to teach. Yeah.
Yes, and I have to say your yoga nidra, maybe we could tell people a little bit, what is yoga nidra? Because I love rest and restore. And I think that one reason why I love restorative yoga is because I'm such a pitta, vata, dosha. And rest and restore is the opposite in a way. It's very kapha, and it's very much asking us to slow down and to know that in the pause, work is being done, or to slow down and to know that slowing down is a practice. And that for someone who is so ambitious and just go, 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 who likes that fire, it's challenging. And I always tell people, if you go to a yoga class and you're like, that was boring, or that was just so slow, you need to go to that class again, because that is your practice. And so it's that balance, like what we were saying. But maybe you could tell us what is Yoga Nidra? And, once we get back into in-person classes, you're going to be offering these things, but I'm sure you're offering it now too. But what is Yoga Nidra and why does it work so well? What are its benefits?
Yeah, so Yoga Nidra is also called sleep yoga, and it's sort of almost like hypnosis. You kind of get into a hypnotic, really trance-like, super deep relaxation state. And it actually shuts off your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your stress response system. So it's 2 parts. It's a guided meditation, relaxation. And the first part is called a rotation of consciousness. And it's basically a really, really detailed body scan. And so it takes you through each little part of your body. From some of them get so detailed that they go through all of your teeth and stuff. But it's like in each of your toes, and they're all different. The scripts are all different. But yeah, so the first half is the rotation of consciousness body scan, and then the second half is a visualization, and that's where the hypnosis kind of comes in. So the rotation of consciousness really, really relaxes your physical body. And then you're able to enter, the visualization process in that super relaxed state. And that's where it kind of is like a hypnosis. And so the visualizations can be really surrounded around anything. Actually, at my yoga teacher training course, it was like I was channeling or something. I was like during one of the classes, I just started writing, and I was like writing my script for the visualization. And what it came out as is focusing on the heart center and visualizing a bright white light shining out from the heart, and then sort of like pouring out. And then it eventually fills up the room and covers all other beings that might be present. And then it expands, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and then eventually covers the whole world. And the idea is just to be spreading that love, that pure love that really resides in your heart, in everybody's heart, and to share that with the world. So that's the Yoga Nidra visualization that I do, but they're all different, and
Yeah, and hypnosis is such an interesting thing, and that's another thing that a lot of people don't know a lot about. But in order to really understand yoga, the mental, spiritual, conscious aspect, there's so many layers of consciousness. And in the yoga teacher training, you learn about those different layers, right? And with Yoga Nidra, you're accessing those deeper layers. And it's so crazy. I remember my first Yoga Nidra, they guide you through that meditation, and you feel like you were sleeping, but you remember some of the things that they were saying, but you don't remember all, because you're not fully at that one conscious layer that we're usually at in our daily life, right? We're at a deeper layer. It's such a trip, but then you come out of it so relaxed, and there's got to be some healing that's taking place there.
Oh, definitely. It's actually really restorative and regenerative for your brain, because of the fact that it's shutting off that stress response system, and that's what allows for that deep relaxation and healing. And yeah, I highly recommend it. Actually, when I was going to school, I was super stressed out one semester. The semester that I switched my major, actually, I got tonsillitis, which was like super crazy because I don't usually get really, really sick, let alone very sick at all. But, and I'd never had any problems with my tonsils or anything like that, you know? And, and yeah, I got really sick. And the only way, well, sometimes the only way that I could go to sleep because I was so stressed out was listening to a yoga nidra for sleep. And I found one on YouTube, and there was only like one time that it didn't work, but every other time I just passed out, and it was great. So if anybody has trouble sleeping or has really bad anxiety or stress, super, super great.
Yes, yoga nidra. I need that tonight, I think. Okay,
Yes,
so
girl.
types of meditation. You kind of, I remember, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember you kind of launched your coaching and your teachings. You were teaching yoga, but then you really launched as a meditation and spiritual coach. There's so many different types of meditation out there, and I think that there's that misconception that meditation is sitting in a quiet room and not moving and closing your eyes and finding peace. So let's talk about what meditation is to you and what different types that you like to practice and teach to your students.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about, I'm going to start by talking about my own personal practice and how I sort of started. I had, because of, you know, going to yoga classes and my dad was into meditation, I always kind of had that influence. But yeah, so, oh, and then I started going to a Buddhist weekly meditation group, actually, and I really liked the group meditation. There was something about the energy of the room and the energy of all the people together that it was like really easy to get into that meditative state. And then when I started doing my home yoga practice, I want to say how I got into that too, because it was really helpful for me. One of the teachers I saw at Health Sport, I only went to one of her classes, and she was actually a friend of Amy Day, that teacher that I really liked. So I was like, okay, I'm going to check out this other teacher. And I went to her one class, and she said, at the end, I'm doing a free 7-day yoga challenge home practice thing. And it's an email. I'll send you an email. It'll be like, 10, 15 minutes. And I was like, well, that sounds really easy. And I've been wanting to start my home practice. So I'm going to do that. And I got, gave her my email and I did it. And that's how I started my home practice. And it was such an easy it was like I just needed a little bridge, like from the class in the studio or whatever, like to my house. And it was perfect. And so after doing the 7 days, it was so easy and it felt so good. And it was just such a short little, 5 or 10 minutes. I decided to keep doing it every morning. And then I just naturally was like, well, since I'm doing this, I might as well meditate for a little bit too, And so when I started doing that, I didn't like follow any particular type of meditation or any teacher or any guidance or anything. I just did what I thought intuitively that I should do. And so it just started. I didn't even have an altar or anything at that point. I kind of just like made my own little makeshift altar each morning with my little singing bowl and my sage and my, crystals. And I would put them in the middle of my living room floor and I would just sit there for like, 5 or 10 minutes before I stretched. And it was, yeah, so that's how it started. And then it evolved from there. So I started out just like focusing on my breath. And then I just kind of, would have this thought in my head, like, oh, maybe I should do this too. And so I just started adding more things until I liked what the practice that I had developed. And so now when I meditate, I add a bunch of different types of meditation together, kind of. I use breath work at the beginning to kind of get centered and prepare. And so usually I do alternate nostril breathing. And I also use mudras. And I use different mudras depending on the day and what feels right. And sometimes if I can't breathe properly out of my nose, then I won't do the alternate nostril breathing. But yeah, and then I do candle gazing, and that's like the main core of my meditation practice every day is candle gazing, which is pretty intense. So I'll just explain briefly what it is. Basically, you sit and stare at a candle flame, and you have your eyes open the whole time. And so that's why it's really intense, because we're so used to blinking to wet our eyes, right? But when you leave your eyes open and focus on the flame, that becomes the meditation, is keeping your focus on the flame and keeping your eyes open. And it also brings this layer of non-attachment, because we become so attached to the sensations in our bodies. But really detaching from the physical sensations is part of the yoga or part of the meditation practice. Even sitting, because obviously you want to start sitting in a comfortable position, but when your body becomes uncomfortable, people feel like they need to move, but you actually don't. It's okay if your legs and your feet fall asleep. Sometimes mine do, and then they come back to life when I'm done with my meditation. But it's just it all those layers become part of the process. And so candle gazing. So when you're staring at the flame with your eyes open, not blinking for an extended period, what happens is your eyes start to well up with water, and then they actually start to, it's like you're crying. The tears go down. Sometimes they go all the way down to my belly button. But yeah, and it's really, really cleansing, and it's really powerful. And because I've been doing it for so long now, I actually can feel the like third eye activation. Not every day, but I usually feel a little sensation right here. And so candle gazing in particular, meditation in general, it decalcifies your pineal gland, which is your third eye. So you're probably familiar with that, how we clog it up a lot with things that we do in our daily lives. And that, shuts off our third eye vision. But when you meditate and particularly candle gazing, it actually unblocks that. And so, yeah, I think that's why I was really drawn to that type of meditation. And I just love fire, and I like the way that the flame looks. It's really pretty. And
I know.
Yeah, so I also
challenge too, because your eyes, it's almost like pain. And it's not, but we register discomfort as pain. But like you said, it's that detachment when really you can have your eyes open, and they will produce the moisture they need, and they will provide tears. And then after it's like any growth, really. You have to go through a point of resistance and pain or challenge, not because not necessarily because that pain is bad for you, but because you are attached to avoiding that feeling and breaking through that. And this can be applied to anything, right? Anything. I mean, detachment from food, from caffeine, from alcohol, from addictions, from the ways we communicate. It's like, to change, before you break through and actually change or heal, you got to go through that tough zone, right? And I feel like with eye gazing, it sounds like you're directly just okay, I am not blinking, and my eyes are hurting, they're dry, but then breaking through that. It's interesting that it's connected to the pineal gland. I mean, that's incredible.
And I think that's really what launched my spiritual awakening, to be honest. I think I've always kind of been on that path, since I was young. But the candle gazing, I think I've realized, is it's like a really, really quick, boom, you're ready to do this. Let's do it right now, let's get there. And I didn't realize that until after I had been doing it for a while. I was like, holy shit, my life is rapidly changing, And so I think that's why I really feel like I want to share this with the world, is meditation in particular, yoga in general, but specifically I feel really strongly about meditation because there's just endless benefits. And yeah, so the other part of my meditation practice is affirmations. And I just kind of made up intuitively my own affirmations. And yeah, so it's a lot of things together. But it's mine. It's my practice that I developed and put these different parts together that I really liked. And that's really what I wanted to share with people was like, break down the misconceptions about meditation and say, look, it's not what you think it is. It can be whatever you want it to be, because that's how meditating. I just did whatever I wanted to do, and I knew some different techniques. Luckily, I had learned a bunch of different types of things about meditation, and I just kind of put all my favorites together.
Yes, I love that. And that's the artist within you. And that's also like the teacher within you too. Like when I first became a certified yoga teacher, I'm so, for lack of better words, type A, that I was basically just pulling my favorite little mini sequences from the teachers I knew, piecing them together to design my own sequence. I wasn't letting my own inner intuition guide me and getting on my mat and designing a practice that was led by my inner intuition, my inner guide. And when we allow ourselves to be led by that point of inside of us rather than an external thing, I feel like that is when we are not only like liberated, but we discover our potential. And, you talk a lot about, helping your students unleash their inner potentials. And so many people today are seeking external validations of who they are and how they can be successful and happy when it's inside of us. And we have to find that inner voice. And once we do, it's so beautiful what we can create. And it's not easy. It's not easy with all the noise.
Yeah, I love everything that you said. And there's this kind of, I think, sort of a division or something in the yoga and meditation world of like, some people believe that you need a teacher, you need to have a teacher, which I understand because you can really hurt yourself if you're doing yoga improperly. But like if you were to just look at some of the pictures on the internet that people are doing in these, these poses of people doing really crazy, like super advanced poses, and you're like, I'm a beginner, I'm going to try to do that. You can really mess something up in your body. So that in that way, I understand why having a teacher is helpful. And, but yeah, when you rely on that too much, like I think I became really attached to the idea of being in a class with people. I liked the energy of being, in the group of people because it's just such a beautiful energy. And I liked the teachers that I had. But yeah, when you become too attached to that and you're like, I need that, then it's like, well, you're taking away your own power, which is that you can really do it on your own. And that's a lot more empowering.
Yeah. And that's in the philosophy of yoga, in the heart of yoga is that detachment. And I don't know the Sanskrit word for it. Do you remember? But detachment is a yoga practice. And it is so important. So important. Just for like, the release of suffering, attachment to life in itself, So I'm really interested in a couple other things that I know you integrate. And we did talk a little bit about the mental rewiring, but I'm curious how you lead your students to find their own. You are a teacher, but at the same time, you value guiding people and finding their own inner guide. So how does that work with you and your students?
Well, I think meditation is the key, because when you can, what it allows you to do is really tune into yourself and your emotions, and your thoughts. Those are our guides. That's our guidance system. Our emotions and in my opinion, that is our guidance system in a way. That's part of the guidance system. Okay, so a lot of people, I think I would say, the average person doesn't know, for one, that they can choose their emotions, and change them, actually, if you want to. And then they don't know about that same thing about thoughts. So a lot of people are just subject to their emotions and their thoughts. And they, let, it's like one thing driving the other. So either you're in control of your thoughts and your emotions, and you understand that you have the power over those things, or you don't, and they have the power over you. So I think what meditation allows us to do is to not to shut off our mind, but really to become aware of our mind and listen to your thoughts. Yeah. And so, so this is one of the misconceptions that I think a lot of people have about meditation is not thinking. I'm supposed to just shut off my mind and not think. But really it's you're actually becoming an observer of your mind, in my opinion, and focusing on directing your thoughts. Okay. Does that make sense?
100%. Yes. And that's the Bhagavad Gita. In that story, it's the chariot. It's the chariot. You've got the horses, the person riding the horses, and the person in the chariot. And that, and that is the metaphor for, well, who's riding this chariot? You're letting the horses, which are your thoughts, or the person lead. I forget what it is. Someone needs to remind us who's watching this, but yes, totally continue.
Yeah. And so, so then in another way, when we are able to not shut off our mind, but quiet our thoughts enough, then we can also tune into our emotional body and then become subtly and acutely aware of the feelings and the sensations that are arising within us. And so that's the other part that I see of our inner guidance system. So if something doesn't feel right, then you need to change course or do something different, or maybe you need to explore that feeling more, and figure out why you're feeling that way. And then then you know what to do. And in the opposite way, if it's good, then you should do more of that, Yeah,
and I think that that's so important for anger, for anxiety, for fear. And, if we lived in a world where we didn't have to communicate with other people, then it wouldn't be as big of an issue. If you were alone on a mountain and you were angry about something, right? You could get angry about the rock, and you'd be angry, and you'd let that emotion cycle through, and you'd continue walking through the trails. But because we have to interact with people, we have relationships, we have children, we have partners, we have family. By meditating and by just noticing, like you said, when I have an emotional outburst, it is most likely because I have not given myself the time to feel what I needed to feel. Feelings come quickly, and you've got to give yourself the time to feel that feeling and notice those thoughts, like you said, and then react. And reactions instead happen back to back to back right after emotions. And this is ricocheting through our country. These things are generational, even the leaders that we have, there is no time in between. And so it's stacking to the point where we hurt each other. and we're hurting ourselves, you know? And I think meditation is like the way to save the world.
Yes. Yes, I agree. I think if everybody meditated every day, it would just like change the entire world.
And children too, yeah.
Oh yeah, totally. Yes, thank you for saying that, because that's why I realized that I could still be a teacher of children, but it was just something different that I wanted to teach,
So children. Talk to us, what are you offering? Where can people find you, and what are you offering now? What are you offering in the future? What is your calling? Who can you help, and how do people find you?
Yeah, so I am working on my website, and I'll be continuing to add stuff on there. My website's called ameliaheleneyoga.square.site. And at some point I might invest in my own domain. But yeah, for now I'm using Square. And so right now I do the moon circles, like you mentioned. I'm very drawn to working with women and gathering in groups and doing healing circles. And so we meet every moon and every new moon. And we do different types of stuff. We do breath work and meditation and chanting, sometimes singing, sometimes dancing. It just changes and evolves based on the moon and what we need in that moment. And we've been doing some Kundalini activation, which has been fun. And we do some oracle card readings and also some ritual. We do like intention setting and releasing rituals. And so that has been really, really beautiful, and that's still evolving. And we're starting to form like a core group of women who are going to be coming each time. But everyone is always welcome to join whenever they can and want to. It's not like you have to come every time. It's just kind of like when you're feeling it, And so we have an Instagram for that. It's called the Sacred Cyber Circle. And the name came from, when I started the group, it was just on Zoom. Now I'm having a small number of people at my home, actually, and we're still doing the Zoom. So it's kind of like a dual physical in-person and virtual circle. Mm-hmm. So, but the name Sacred Cyber Circle was because it was all online initially. So we have our Instagram, and then I'm sort of starting to move more away from social media though right now. I just feel like, I don't know, it's not where I want to be putting a lot of my energy. I need to be putting more of my energy into my physical reality here and now, with the people that are actually right in front of me. And but definitely going to be working on my website. And
awesome.
I offer different types of healing sessions. Yoga Nidra, I can do personal yoga nidras designed specifically for someone. For example, I had a woman who wanted some way for her and her husband to connect. And so I created a yoga nidra for them. And and then I also
do yoga nidras, y'all. Get on it. If you haven't done a yoga nidra before, try Amelia's yoga nidra. Your voice, the way, the delivery, but also the feeling after. Try it out if you're watching this and you're interested at all. And I am definitely going to be scheduling mine too, because I need some of that parasympathetic release.
Yes. I also feel really drawn to sharing chakra balancing, chakra healings. So I have that available. And then I do oracle and tarot readings privately. And what else do I do? I'm working on developing a group coaching program. and it will be like an intensive, I think it's going to be like a 3-month program. So there will be a group of people together that will go through, and I'm still working on that and trying to decide exactly how it's going to come together.
So exciting. I can't wait to see what you do. And thank you so much for offering this to our community and to women and to mothers and hopefully eventually to children as well, because you are just helping people heal and healing yourself. And that's where it starts. It starts with us, it starts with the individual. And we need teachers. You know, we're only as good as the teachers. I mean, we could argue this, but I always say I'm only as good as the teachers I've had, because they've ignited something in me, you know, to find my own inner guide, like you mentioned. So I think it's so important for us to put our egos aside and to know that like we can get help and we can get help from others. And that's what community is all about.
Yes. Yay. Yeah, we're definitely here to lift each other up and help support each other. And that's why this women's circle is so important and it's so powerful. And children have been a part of the circle to some degree. We had actually my new cousin by marriage, she's 15. And so she has joined a few of the circles and really enjoyed them. And this is such a hard time for teenagers being in quarantine, and especially with the weird school situations happening now. They're just not having that social aspect, which is so important for everybody, but like especially as a teenager, you know. That's how we form a lot of our self-identity as a child, is being around our peers and having friends and stuff. So I super feel for them, and I would actually love to start I've been talking about this for a little while, so it'll probably happen soon, but I would love to start a teen girls group, like a young women's thing. So that's in the works. And the other day at our moon circle, my friend brought her 7-year-old daughter, and it was just so sweet. She's like a little angel light worker child. And we were going around the circle doing our like highs and lows. And whenever somebody was talking about their low thing that they were going through, she would go over and give them a hug. And it was so precious. It was just like, oh, it was so sweet. It was really nice to have a little lady.
And these hugs are that's so sweet. I love that. And light workers are in all ages. So let them rise up in the younger generations. Let teach our children to find that spiritual connectivity and to have that emotional intelligence. And thank you so much, Amelia. I'm so excited to learn more from you, and I definitely will be joining the next cyber circle. It's been too long that I've wanted to, so I look forward to it. And if you're watching this, I'll see you there. The next one will be the full moon.
Yes, the full moon on October 1st. The October is a very special month because there's 2 full moons. There's one on the 1st and then one on the 31st.
On the Halloween. Oh my gosh. October is going to be an awesome month. I'm looking forward to it. Sweet. Well, thank you so much, Amelia. Everyone visit her at ameliaheleneyoga.square.site. And that's Helene, Helene. And I love you, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for blessing us with your wisdom.
I love you too. Thank you so much for having me. I am so grateful for you and the work that you are doing and bringing up these women and putting them on the spot. And yeah, thank you.
Love you. Talk soon.